Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Three Girls, One Deck. This is like the first time I think I've been live on my channel in 2 years. And I got no idea what I'm doing. So Sarah and Julie are going to help me along nicely.
Mostly Sarah, because even I don't know.
Come on.
So if I start staring off randomly into space, it's because I've forgotten that I'm hosting and somebody might just have to throw something in my direction.
And Heather, back to you. Hi, Lala.
So today we are doing decks that we want to get to know better, right?
Correct.
And there's like a nice mix of, I think some of us have got decks that we've had for a while, some of us have got decks that are new, and just that we want to spend a bit more time with. And as always, because Julie's luck sucks, the dice decided that Julie was going first.
And I wasn't even the one who, like, you could have been lying.
I rolled them. I should have shown it to you, but I could have just turned it around in my hand.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
there was no way for you to know.
I knew Heather could have just been lying, and sorry, Julie.
Yeah,
but
it's okay. It's okay. I know that you weren't. Like,
no.
Your response was too immediate for it to be like, oh, and it's sick.
I'm also a terrible liar, and if I lie, I would have gone, that was a 5, but not really.
Well, I have the same problem. I cannot lie just at all. I'm so bad at it. So I always laugh. Always.
Yeah,
so,
all good.
Or I stutter, or I go red, or
I love reading my soul. Okay, so this is a new deck. The lovely human being who had sent me the Delos Tarot, which was my unicorn deck, had a few other decks that they were rehoming and offered a list to see which, if I were interested in any. And so this is one of them, and that is the Dame Darcy Queen Alice Tarot. I do not have any other Dame Darcy decks. And this one is one that I've always been curious about. So here are the backs. It's quite glossy and shiny, and it's in order because I haven't worked with it yet.
Okay.
But I really do. I love this art style. In general, I like Dame Darcy's art style. And I like, so I'm probably gonna get canceled. I like Alice in Wonderland in situations. Like, I reread because I could not remember if I had read and just forgot or didn't read at all. I feel like I had read it way back, both Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. I reread both a couple years ago, maybe, and I wasn't like a huge fan. And maybe it's the fact that I'm reading them now as, in later years than maybe earlier years. I'm not quite sure, but like, I am that basic bitch who just likes the Disney movie and likes the Tim Burton movies and any other iteration of Alice in Wonderland or Through the Looking Glass that isn't the books. Because I cannot, and I like some aspects of the books, ones that I remember, because even now, like, I wouldn't be able to tell you much of the plot with Through the Looking Glass even. But I like some of the characters. I like Jabberwocky. There are things that I know and like, but on the whole, I didn't find reading them to be all that compelling for me. And
I mean, I think suggesting that Alice has a plot is very generous.
It's just a series of things that happen. Like,
there's no story arc. There's no character development, really. It's just stuff that happens.
I truly thought I was missing something. I'm like, what? I mean, I feel like it should be deeper than that, but it's not. Okay.
No, it's Alice goes into the world and things happen that don't make sense. Yeah. And then she leaves.
Yeah.
Everyone. Just see who's here. Hi, Laura. Hi, Shan Rising and Benabel. Okay, so yes. Anyway. But I know that especially with tarot, it seems like the old school artwork and just kind of like homage to the kind of old school, the novels is what we see a lot of. So my thing is like and it's what I'm drawn to too. Like I know that there's an Alice in Wonderland Disney, the Inside Edition Disney deck.
Yeah.
That doesn't really. I mean, I thought it looked cute, but I don't think it's one that I'm going to acquire. But anyway, so this is something where it's like I really I think it's fun imagery. I do get and recall some of the characters and references and understand, some of the intention behind chosen images, and then others it's like I don't remember that. And so I know that there is the Terratuber Sadhana's integrative healing, I think is her channel. She did, so someone alerted me to a video that she did where she goes through this deck and actually kind of gives you an explanation of the the story, right? The behind each of the images. So I have that on my queue to watch to maybe help me to further kind of understand and get some of the references. But yeah, I'm excited about it. Like we'll see. I'm very curious to see how it'll go. Theme decks are hard for me sometimes. So that's another thing too, where it's like with theme decks, if I know the story too well, or I have a particular strong association, it's hard for me to not stay locked into that particular association. And I think that can hinder my reading, when I'm using a deck. So a lot of times actually I don't really love having a lot of like fandom themed, specifically themed decks. But I don't know. I just wanted to give this a try since it was being so generously offered. So I'm like, why not? And then, if I don't get along, then I don't get along. But yeah. So that's really it.
Yeah. That's it. And I think we are an interesting audience for you to be showing this deck too, because like, Heather is a huge Alice person. Yes. Meanwhile, I have read both Alice in Wonderland and In the Looking Glass many times, but I find them profoundly disturbing.
I remember you said that. Yes.
So they're not a world that I want to like go live in the form of a tarot deck, you know? So I've never been drawn to any Alice deck because all of my memories of reading those books are like the end of Alice in Wonderland is terrifying. The end of Through the Looking Glass is terrifying. They're at a dinner party and all the guests are like laying down in the dishes to be eaten. Like it's really fucked up. So yeah, maybe I don't know, but they're both scary. Like in Alice in Wonderland, she's gonna get her head chopped off. Like it's
yes, that's true.
For a little kid to read, and so
good point.
I still have this like very deep sort of uneasiness about Alice in Wonderland just from like reading the books as a kid, and so it creeps me out, like it kind of creeps me out. So
no, I hear you.
I haven't enjoyed the books and like I said, I've read them many times. I think they're amazing, but they scare me. So
but I'm totally there with you because obviously, I mean, I've got a tattoo for crying out loud. At this point, it's not a secret that I'm a huge Alice in Wonderland fan, but I wouldn't want to live there.
Right.
It's a pretty scary place, and that's why I think it lends itself so well to like a lot of the darker stuff that comes out off the back of it, like the Thingy Henry, I can't remember her first name, the author, who does a lot of very dark fairy tale retelling. She's done one about Alice where she breaks out of an insane asylum. It's very dark. And it's really good, but it's graphic. It's like an adult story. There's a lot of games there's the game that is all very dark and stuff. It's not like honestly, that book reads like somebody having a very, very bad trip.
Yeah. Oh, that I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, exactly.
And it's not like I love my Alice decks because they're kind of light and fluffy and Disney looking, whereas I'm not sure how I would get on with that one, because it's just a bit darker and scary. Christina Henry. Thank you, Laura. I knew somebody would know.
Christina Henry. Okay, I'm gonna have to look into it. That sounds actually kind of fun. Anyway, so really, so this feels dark and scary. Maybe. I don't know. I guess we'll find out when I think
it just feels a bit. I think I'm not I'm going to get cancelled now. I'm not the biggest fan of Dame Darcy's art style.
Oh, okay.
It's like a tattoo style almost, but it's a tattoo style that I personally don't like.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
And I think that makes it a
sailor
bit
tattoo.
Yeah, and I think that for me, that just puts it on the more like uncomfortable side of.
That's what I love about it. Like the old school looking tattoos. Like I love that. That's cool with the hierarchy. So yeah, that's kind of the appeal for me, because it's that kind of weird, somewhat creepy yet still pretty, in my eyes anyway. And I just find it ironic that I'm really not all that attached to like the OG stories per se. Like my memories, most of them are with like the Disney-fied Alice in Wonderland, and also the Tim Burton movies were fun. But essentially, like I'm not. But yet, what I'm drawn to is, funny enough, when it comes to tarot, like when I, something like this, and even the Llewellyn, I think the art style wasn't ultimately for me, but I liked that they were using like the OG Lewis Carroll storyline, as opposed to, well, I guess they wouldn't be able to use Disney since it's like licensed, but so yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Have you used it at all yet, Julie?
Nope, not at all. And another thing is, this is going to be impossible for me to riffle shuffle. So then I'm gonna have to overhand. I knew this would be a thing. Hopefully it shouldn't deter me. It doesn't feel sticky. I mean, it's this kind of gloss, and it's pretty slippery gloss, so it should be all right. The Chronicles of Alice series. So is that the Christina
That's
Henry?
the Christina Henry one. Yeah. I've only read the first one.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, we'll see how I get on. I'm just curious about it. I think my only two concerns is that, I'm not going to really have a good frame of reference for some of the storylines that are, pieces that are referenced. And then also like, I'm also afraid I'm going to just get too locked into that as well, and then only be able to read it a certain way. So which might, I don't know if that's really a problem or not.
If you like the art style, have you ever like looked at any of Dame Darcy's other decks?
Yeah, I've looked at the mermaid one.
The Mermaid Tarot. I freaking love the Dame Darcy Mermaid Tarot. Like,
yeah, I have. I don't know. I don't know. I go back and forth on them, because she has a few that I am kind of attracted to, like the mermaid one. I think she even has a cat one that's kind of cute. But I've ultimately never. So I've heard some stories about some not so great dealings with the seller, the creator.
Okay.
And so that kind of put me off, like, I just don't want to deal with that. And so I just never really got around to picking up a deck, like buying a deck from her. But given that this was, going to just be a gift for me, I was like, why not? But yeah, I hear a lot of great things about the Dame Darcy Mermaid.
Dame Darcy Mermaid Tarot. Yeah.
Have you talked about that one in a Three Girls before, Sarah?
We have, yes.
Yeah.
When Laura was on, Laura from Aquamarine 18 was a guest. Decks. That was the one that I talked about, and I truly love that deck. So, I know that the first edition of it had some issues, and that we can perhaps be a little concerned about some of her ethics as an artist.
Yes, that too. I didn't want to say it, but I'm glad you said it.
Second edition onward of that deck, the problems were, rectified to whatever extent something like that can be rectified. And the deck itself, I really, really love. So it's a great deck to use.
Yeah, I will have to. I'll have to think about it. Yeah, I'll start off with this, and if the artwork indeed does like work for me, like I really like the artwork, but maybe the theme isn't working for me. I might, maybe I'll consider the Mermaid Tarot. Oh, and of course, like just tactile wise, am I gonna get pissed at this deck because like it's really stiff? You know, it's just a really stiff cardstock. With gilding, with this like silver edging that I'm sure everyone else loves, but probably me. I mean, it's pretty, but when it comes to practicality, you know, use, I don't like this kind of sharp edging, gilding, whatever. So so yes, that is the deck that I'm gonna try to get to know at some point this year.
Cool. Are you planning on doing any kind of like renewed study of the novels or anything like that? Okay.
No. I mean, if anything, no. I mean, I'm gonna wiki the summary, you know, plot, or also just maybe rewatch. And I know they're not straight, you know, matched up with the OG, but like, you know, some of the, I'm sure, especially the Tim Burton ones, there are a lot of elements that do refer to Lewis Carroll's novel. And so I would rather just like watch those.
And Tim Burton ones are interesting because the Disney film actually I think is more in like the cartoon animated one is more in line with the book, where the Disney one is the Tim Burton ones more have this like almost unmentioned for a lot of it idea that actually it's not Alice in Wonderland, it's Alice goes back to Wonderland.
That's true. Yes, you're right. That is true.
Yeah, it's like a sequel. It's like an invented sequel. So
yeah, that is true. I just and maybe I'm misremembering, but it's like especially I think it's Through the Looking Glass, just kind of that a lot of the characters that we see because we never got a Disney did we? No, we never got a Disney Through the Looking Glass, right? So I don't know. Oh, am I freezing again?
No, you're not.
Oh, okay. That was just Sarah, just like.
That was just Sarah doing Sarah. And I was reading Benabelle's comments about the.
Yes, every once in a while it's perfectly still. So this lives in my house can see me. So yeah.
Breathing issue. Hello?
Like, Sarah, are we frozen? Are you frozen? Or are you just doing a Sarah?
Just holding very still. Yeah. I get that a lot.
So. And really I just plan on bugging Heather, like, what happens, what's this image about? What do I need to know? So anyway,
also that's kind of a wild story that she said, please, I sent 2 decks by accident and then told you to send the second one back to her but didn't offer to pay the return shipping. Like, okay, wow, okay.
I was reading that when Judy was talking. I was like, that is just
that's not
insane.
Cool. See, that kind of stuff is in line with other stories, you know.
How does your I'm overthinking this. I'm like, how does your brain not engage to a point where you think I've made a mistake here and asking somebody else to pay for my mistake is actually a thing to do?
Honestly, so let me tell you guys this. I have both the second and third editions of the Dame Darcy Mermaid Tarot, and neither of those were purchased from Dame Darcy. I have never had any dealings with her directly. I initially, because her gold edition that she has, I've never liked it because it has gilding and she had like cleaned up the images and stuff. So I actually, when I initially bought that deck, this was, I don't know, like 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, Little Red Tarot in the UK still had third edition copies. And so I ordered one from them. And then I got my second edition copy in a trade via Facebook. So I have never had any like direct dealings with her because I got both of those decks via other means. So I like can't speak to what she's like to deal with in terms of buying a deck directly. So, but it's I mean,
it's just I just like if you make that mistake, then you just write it off, right? You just say, oh, you know what? That's my mistake. just give one of those decks to someone else.
Or you at least pay for the return shipping on
Yeah,
one.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as a minimum, you pay for the return shipping. But personally, I think the right thing to do in that situation is to just say, well, okay, well, my bad. Just, you know, thanks for letting me know, but just pass one on to someone else.
Right. Yeah.
But
yeah.
This maybe is why I never have any money.
Yes. The mermaid deck does feel like a gay pool party. That is,
I've heard the same thing as well.
Freaking delight. Like that is what I love about it.
Yes.
It's all just like pirates and sailors and mermaids, and yes, it's like super, super queer in like every respect, and it's just very it's a very, very fun deck, and it's fun to read with, and it reads really well. But yeah, I mean, I do think that there is a lot to question about the ethics of that initial initial version that had like the literal traced artwork. Like that is a problem. So
just to remind me of what happened, because I'm a bit rubbish at these kind of things, am I right that basically the artwork was stolen,
plagiarized?
She'd literally just,
it was traced. There's another mermaid deck out there, and there were like 5 or 6 cards in the first edition of the Dame Darcy deck that you could tell they were literally traced from
that deck.
Other deck. In the second edition, she changed all those cards to original artwork, which like, okay, I'm like, okay, I feel better having a deck that doesn't have traced artwork in it, but it doesn't stop me from questioning her ethics as an artist. Obviously,
the fact that you were willing to do it in the first place
at all, is a problem.
Would she have changed them if she hadn't been called out for
it?
Exactly. So yeah, so it's it's not good. It's one of those situations where, like I said, I didn't buy either of those decks directly from her, and I like the deck enough that I deal with it, but I would never say that I am in complete agreement with her ethics as an artist. So yeah.
And I also hear that and I could be mistaken, but when she was called out on it and then did make the corrections, she wasn't particularly apologetic about it. Like she didn't seem very remorseful at all. Like
it wasn't good.
Trying to just sweep it under the rug, and it's like,
and it it gave rise to a whole like debate about because like obviously artists use references, but when it's literally, you can tell that it was literally traced. I know it's in her style and everything, but all the configuration of like how everything was in the picture was exactly the same as in the original, and you could tell that it was literally traced. Like that's
not okay.
That's not okay. Like that's not okay. So yeah, but again, like those cards are not present in the second edition onward. But again, so
it happened. It still happened.
So
well,
yeah.
Well, so we didn't actually decide who was going next either. We just got so carried away by laughing at Julie that we didn't decide who was going next. But I don't mind going next if you like.
Oh, dude. Okay, that's garbage.
Wow,
this up.
Is it a woman? She just gets worse and worse every time somebody shares a piece of information.
Wow.
Yeah. If the next piece of information is she kills puppies for fun, I'm out of here.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. That I did. That's a new one for me. That's garbage.
That is garbage. Wow. That's all I.
Wow. So she didn't acknowledge that she'd done it. And she made people pay if they wanted them replaced. If you want to replace the stolen artwork, which is effectively what it is, we can gloss it up, but if you want to replace the stolen artwork, you have to pay for that. Wow.
That's
now
terrible.
Okay, hopefully this does not taint my feelings about this.
That's a level of entitlement that is like just.
I'm hearing all these terrible things. I still love my mermaid deck, and I'm still going to keep using it. But like I said, this does not in any way imply any endorsement of her.
No, I hear you. Yes, same. Yeah. And I didn't pay for it. I got this from a different source as well. So I feel much better about that I did not give money to her. So oh, okay. Well, on that note, Heather, are you gonna you're up next?
Take it away. All right, let me.
Are you gonna make me big, Sarah? Thank you.
Yes, I'm making you big right now. There we go.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to talk about Tarot of the Crystal World, which is quite a new one that came off Kickstarter. It was one of the easiest Kickstarters I've ever done. And price-wise, it was amazing as well. I just want to put that out there because Kickstarter has been a bit hit and miss for me lately. This is by Brooke Penrose. And I'm only going to say this once and then we're all going to move on. Okay, but it's linen cardstock and it's freaking beautiful and I love it. Oh. That's it. I'm not talking about that anymore. No.
Convert.
I'm happy to admit when I am wrong. I'm not wrong. I wouldn't go that far. But there's something about this cardstock. It's very different from any linen cardstock I've seen before. Like it's really, it's not as like crosshatchy. And it feels freaking divine. It feels so good. By the way, there is nudity in this deck. If anybody has a problem with that, there is full frontal nudity as well. So just to pre-warn for anyone who's concerned about that. But it is like, so there's no crystals in these cards at all. Like I think Crystal World is just the name that he's given the world that he's created for these characters in this deck to exist in. And it's like there's cards in here which are very obviously inspired by pop culture. There's one, and I think it's the Three of Swords, if it comes up, where the guy has swords in him. Sorry. Yeah, I know. My timing was rubbish.
I just hear it because it made me laugh. So
sorry about that. I mean, people generally seem to be more concerned about frontal nudity than
butts. Yeah.
But so you know, I thought about it after that card came up. I was like, oh, I should probably tell people this before somebody comes at me. But
you might see more than butts, people.
Yeah, it is what it is. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the Three of Swords is like the guy has swords in him, but he's wearing like he's down on his knees with his head back and his arms up, and he's wearing like fatigues. It's very, very obviously to me directly lifted from the film Platoon. And you know, there's other characters that you just are very pop culture-y. It's a world it's really weird and uncomfortable in places, but I want to get to know it a lot better. It's also very, if you've read any of the Gunslinger books, I imagine that this is what the world is like before all the gunslingers were killed off at the beginning of the first book. And it's just, but it's got some modern, it's a bit modern, but it's also a bit fantastical. It's really interesting. And I just really, really want to spend more time in this world that I don't want to live in, but I would like to get to know a lot better.
Does it come with a guidebook?
It does. The guidebook's quite small though. It's only it's just a tiny little thing.
Oh, gotcha. So it's not extensive.
But it does have, so I don't know, let's just pick one at random. So the Hermit, it says, he takes his time, looks first within. He has distanced himself from daily troubles to answer what needs conclusion. So he talks about, the guidebook talks about the character in the card and what they're doing or what they're feeling, or rather than being keywords, which I liked, because for a book that size, where each one's only got a couple of sentences, you're kind of expecting to get keywords. And you don't. I'm really sorry about the lighting, by the way. It's like the weirdest time of day for me to film in the summer. And it was fine, and then the sun moved, and now I'm glowing. So just the only thing I'm not taking on the gilded edges, but that's just personal taste, because I don't love gilded edges as a whole. But everything else about this deck I just really like. I just really, really like it.
So sorry if I missed this because my connection is going in and out, but did you say that it's its own world? Are crystals involved in it?
No.
Okay.
No. Well, I don't think so. I don't remember seeing a single crystal in any of these cards.
I
So I think that's just the name that he's given to the world that is the theme of this deck. But I don't know why. And there's nothing in the guidebook to tell you that other than it's the world that he's created. So I think he just, I don't know. I'm going to stare at the book now and you're all going to look at me while I read. That's always fun.
Well, it looks really cool. I did not see this come up. Like I have been trying to steer clear of Kickstarter as much as possible recently. So just to avoid temptation. So I did not see this one on Kickstarter. And so I'm not familiar with it at all, but I want to go check it out now after you've mentioned it and like watch a flip through or something, because it sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
It is. It's just, I'm going to try and find some of the cards now. Like there's some like this one is just like very pop culture-y. There's I'm going to find Three of Swords, which I like. That scene from Platoon is one of the most powerful scenes in a film I've ever watched ever. I love that film. And it really gives me all the feels for this particular card, but it's just it feels very Platoon-y for me. And then there's one, if you're familiar with Watchmen, I think this also might be a little bit of a Watchmen-y nod. I don't know if that's because the guy's blue.
Yeah, that does look like, yeah. What was this the one that you and I were talking about, where you were wondering if one of the cards was a reference to
Watchmen,
the comedian in Watchmen? Yeah. Interesting.
Which is the devil card. Yeah, the devil card.
Okay.
Which I think
I can't remember if this is. I haven't read Watchmen in a long time. I can't remember.
Is it Rorschach or Rorschach?
Yeah, Rorschach.
Rorschach. Yeah. But he's even got this yellow thing here is actually the smiley face pin.
Yeah.
Which I think is this one really works for me as well, because I think I've mentioned this in videos before, but I just have a thing about no faces, like not being able to see people's faces. I very much read people's faces when I communicate with them. I think partly because I just speak very much with my own face. My face hides nothing, which is not always a thing, but and so this card makes me very uncomfortable, but in a way that works for the card that it is. Like it makes me just like want to hide all my uncomfortable bits so nobody can see them.
Yeah, very cool. I didn't know he had videos.
I
don't know much about this other than because Heather, you did a video on this, right? I feel like that's where
Tom Benjamin did a video on this.
Maybe that's where I saw it. And yeah, because I've only seen one video.
Yeah, his is the only video I've seen as well.
I've not then seen or heard about this deck other than that.
Yeah, I'll have to go check it out. It does sound really interesting. And like Marlena said here, like the mix of references is very interesting to me. So yeah.
And I think he talks about in the guidebook, a little bit of the guidebook, how he grew up loving horror and like I want to say country and western, but I don't think that's right. That feels very like country music. But...
Yeah. Like Laura
country and western. Yeah. Country and western, and
your cowboy fantasy I didn't know I wanted. Yeah.
And he's very into pop culture and music, and it's very clear that the things that he's interested in have all he's just powered them all into this tarot deck in a way that shouldn't work because it's such a weird mix of stuff. But actually, it's that weird mix of stuff that just makes it really fun and interesting and something that I want to explore more.
Have you used it at all?
Yeah, a little bit. I used it when I first got it. I did some daily draws with it, a couple of readings with it for the different moon cycles and stuff. And it's a fairly easy read. I mean, it's fairly... For the most part, it's fairly in line with RWS type imagery. in that enough that you can tell which card is which and stuff. So it's a fairly intuitive read in that respect.
Cool. Awesome.
So, yeah.
All right. Yeah, I need to look more into this one. It does sound really, really interesting. Even if it's
definitely he definitely has plans to sell more copies of the deck, as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
Now that the initial Kickstarter is over and all the decks have gone out and stuff. I think he I believe, and I might be thinking of somebody else, and I'm sure somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that he was very keen to get his Kickstarter done and finished and everybody's decks out to them before he looked at opening up the deck to other people to purchase, which I think is the right way to do things.
It is.
I appreciate so much.
Yeah.
There's some other experiences with recent decks where they failed.
Yeah.
Hello, Lady Blind Wolf. Welcome.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome. Great to see a new face. It's awesome.
Yes.
Even though we can't see your face, but you know what I'm
saying.
You know what I mean.
You know what I mean.
Well, this one sounds really interesting. This is one of those ones where I'm like, I'm looking at it and I'm not sure whether or not the art is entirely my style, but I want to watch a video on it at the very least now, just because I am interested by the whole concept of it. So I'm very, yeah. Oh yes.
Yeah, honestly, I think, based on the art, just the artwork, I think it's one that I wouldn't have backed, but it was just the odd little, there was a few things in there that I was like, this totally speaks to a lot of the things that I'm very interested in, like Stephen King books, the Gunslingers type books, and the little bits of pop culture history that I recognize are things that I actually really love, and I'm a huge nerd, so I get really excited when I see that kind of thing, and that's what mainly made me back it.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Cool.
Very cool. All right, Sarah, over to you.
Yes. Well, okay. So interestingly, and I do want to mention this because Laura mentioned you don't love it when chain bookstores have a Kickstarter deck before you as a backer, and yes, no, I do not love that, and that is specifically referencing the Literary Tarot, which, interestingly enough, was the deck that I was going to talk about. But just as a spoiler, so I was going to talk about the Literary Tarot in this video. However, Julie recently received as a gift from somebody a copy of the Literary Tarot. So now all three of us have it, and we have received a request to do a special episode on just that deck. So we are going to be doing that, and I think we all three of us have very different opinions on the deck. So I think that that's probably going to be a very interesting episode. So so stay tuned for that. So I was going to talk about the Literary Tarot, but I had to switch now. So so the deck that I am going to talk about is actually two decks, but they really kind of go together. So one of the decks that I'm going to talk about is the Mythic Tarot.
You're blurry. Of course it happens when you're trying to show your decks.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my god. Okay, let me just turn my camera off briefly and turn it back on and see if that fixes it. God damn it. Okay.
Maybe it'll focus when you hold cards.
Yeah, maybe it'll. Yeah, there you go.
Okay,
sort of.
that's good.
Yeah, I think that's all right.
So I wanted to talk about the Mythic Tarot, and then I also wanted to talk about the now I'm in focus again, the Hellenic Oracle, because I feel like they kind of go together, and I really want to reacquaint myself with this one because I've had it for ages. I've had this deck for years, as well as really get to know this one. And since they're both based on Greek mythology, it seems like that is sort of a something that all could be done together, as just sort of a renewed focus on that. And just to put in a plug for Julie has been doing some videos on the Hellenic Oracle and just talking about some of the cards and how they relate to the myths and some of the interesting interpretations that come out of those cards when you really focus on the myth, and what the real underlying message of that is, and what the sort of commonly accepted message has always been versus what other meanings you can get out of it. And they've been very good so far. So I highly recommend.
Thank you so much.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna put in a plug for your videos if we're here, right? So they're good. So anyway, so I'm very excited about that. Oh, and then one more plug also. I am going to be restocking these bags in my in my shop. So if anybody wants a cool
As
deck,
you should, yes.
Oracle, these will be
Perfect.
restocked like in a couple weeks. So anyway, now that I'm done shamelessly advertising, so the Mythic Tarot, like this is a deck that's been around since the 80s. A lot of people are really familiar with this one. But, you know, this is a deck that's entirely based on Greek mythology. And the really sort of unique thing about it is that each of the suits has to do with a specific myth. So, like, you know, wands are, you know, Jason and the quest for the Golden Fleece. Cups are Eros and Psyche. Pentacles are Daedalus. And now I'm blanking on what swords are. I can't remember, but in any case, so each suit actually tells like a full story, and the courts are figures from that story. So you do need to be really familiar with those stories in order to make sense of the minors. And then the majors are just like individual Greek gods. So like here is here is Pan as the devil. Here is the Lovers is a really interesting card because you know, this is Paris deciding which of the goddesses to award the golden apple to. So you know, so and this is what obviously kicked off the Trojan War. So so there's a lot of like interesting stuff going on in this deck, and there is a guidebook which I do have, and so I really need to like reread the guidebook, reacquaint myself with this deck, and just like relearn all of it just to make sure that I'm, you know, fully able to make sense of all of it. But you know, I have used it before, but I don't feel acquainted with it anymore. It's been a long time since I've worked with this deck in any kind of concerted way, or like, you know, I just feel out of touch with it, I guess is the way I would put it. So anyway, so, and again, this deck, I feel like, because this original version of it was out of print for a long time, and they came out with the new Mythic Tarot, which is like similar artwork but in a different style that's much worse. And so it just wasn't very popular, but I feel like they are going to be reprinting the original artwork.
Saying that they keep saying that it was meant to come out in 2021, then 2022. I feel like it's been years that they've been.
Is it mass market? Who is it?
It is mass market.
Yeah, it is mass market. I don't
Llewellyn. Is it Llewellyn?
Is it Llewellyn?
I feel like it was, but I could be wrong.
I think it is Llewellyn.
Pretty sure, because I think that was the catalog where they made that announcement that it was coming out. But that was like a few years ago, and I still haven't seen it.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, it doesn't say on my cards, and I don't have the box, I don't think, anymore. But in any case, you know, it is a really great deck. But again, you do need to, you know, do some kind of like have a pretty deep understanding of the specific stories referenced, and the specific gods referenced. I absolutely love the artwork of this deck. Like, it feels very nostalgic to me. It's very 80s, I feel like.
Yes, it is.
So I love the artwork of this original version. It reminds me of like Greek myth storybooks that I had when I was a kid. Like, there's even specific books I remember that had illustrations that very much remind me of this deck.
Like Delaire's book. Did you have that one?
No, I had one that I don't even know who the author was, and it was like a generic like Greek myth book. I have no idea who the author was. It was a hand-me-down book that like one of my cousins gave to me, and I read it a million times as a kid, but I have no clue who the author is. Oh, and I also, did any of you guys ever play the board game By Jove as a kid?
No.
Okay. So it was a board game I had as a kid that was fully based on Greek and Roman mythology.
Oh.
And like, it was delightful. Like, you went on the quest for the Golden Fleece, and you went and fought the Trojan War, and you like won heroes, you know, like you would be able to be like, yes, so Achilles is, I have Achilles and you have Hector, and like it was fun. Like, I don't know. It was a cool board game, and it also, the illustrations of it kind of remind me of this too. So anyway, so yeah, this is just a really great deck, but I do feel like I need to reacquaint myself with it. In a lot of ways. So
I can't remember, does the guidebook actually go into the specifics? It's okay. I'm sorry if you said it and I missed it.
The guidebook of this is actually pretty extensive. You know, I have the hardcover edition of the guidebook, and yeah, I mean, they're like every card you can see, like, just for this is for the Queen of Wands, there's like, you know, like 3 pages worth of just text explaining the card. So it is very, very in depth about all of the characters, all of the cards, tells the entire story. It's a really, really good guidebook. So it's just a very well done deck in general. I think it's just really good, but I just need to like get comfortable with it again, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And then the same thing with the Hellenic Oracle, because again, gorgeous deck, amazing. And this is, as most of you probably know, this is by our own Thea of Garden Goddess Tarot, who is another wonderful tarot tuber. But you know, it's a beautiful deck, but there's no keywords on it. You know, all it has is just the name of whatever mythological figure is being referenced by the card. And so I feel like you kind of almost need to make your own guidebook for this one. So
I
yeah,
agree.
that's a project that I want to do with this.
And I think that's the point, because I know that Thea there have been a lot of comments like on our videos about, oh, can you do a guidebook? Where's the guidebook? We need a guidebook. And it's kind of like, just make your own freaking guide. Like, because, you know, as I've been doing my studies, again, there are so many different interpretations that you can glean from, from a character or a place, depending on the myth, you know, where the myth came from. And so it's a guidebook. I don't know. I feel like the myths, it's like, and the characters, you can freaking Google it, and it's not that hard to like put your own work into it. And this is a deck I feel like is worth it, you know?
But also, while we're plugging it, it's been mentioned in the chat already, but just to re-mention it, Rochelle is doing a like dive into it. Is it on? I think it's on Facebook. There's a group on Facebook from the beginning of August.
That's what I think.
That you know, she's saying in the chat actually that it was inspired a lot by this deck, is one of the things that's inspired her to do that and do this study. So if people are interested, Rochelle Amethyst Ascension, for anyone who doesn't know who that is, but I'm sure we all know and love her, that she does have a video on her channel where she talks about that with the link to the Facebook group and stuff. So do go and check that out.
Okay. You were kind of freezing there, Heather, but I think we all got the gist. So yeah.
Group.
Yeah, I think I crashed.
And yeah, also like, so again, like to my point, like Rochelle has a resource there. I mean, you make your own freaking guidebook is my point. Sorry, not to be ranty, but I was just
these are Greek myths. Like, they are more in the public domain than anything has ever been. Like, you can find information on this literally anywhere. So yeah.
So buy your Sarah bag, Google your shit, and not you guys, because I know y'all are great and y'all aren't lazy about it, but I don't know. It was a thing where I was just like seeing comments about that, and it's kind of like, come on now. It's like, this deck is huge, first of all. She didn't have to make it available, but so many people were wanting it available, so then she made it available. You know, and then it's like, but where's the guidebook? And it's like, really?
Also,
I think, you know, we've just got very comfortable with having the information given to us, haven't we? Like, we quite often it's quite often a complaint with guidebooks, rightly so in a lot of cases, when they don't provide us with all of that information. But when you're talking about Greek myths,
hello,
is your friend.
It really is. There's
all there for you.
So many books, so many books, so many free resource materials. Like, come on now.
People. And we all learn at least some of it at school. I mean, I know for a lot of us that was a long time ago.
Exactly. So, and beautiful notebook, by the way. I remember you showing that in like, was it your journal video? And I was like, oh, do I need to buy that now?
Yeah, this is an amazing notebook. So that I got specifically to make my Mythic Tarot and Hellenic Oracle guidebook. So, and
how like perfectly does it match your fabric of your bag?
Like, I'm sorry, but like look how good that is. I'm sorry, like, you know, from an aesthetic sense, this just satisfies me so much.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's those are my decks that I want to get to know better. Again, one very old, one brand new, but both on the same theme. So
yeah, no,
yeah,
I can see, and I can see maybe. Do you plan on like working with them, like when you're doing readings? Do you plan on working with them together then, in a sense, you're studying? Gotcha.
That's what I really want to do. So
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I want to kind of like, I don't want to just like sit and go card by card and like, do it that way. I'd rather like, work with different cards and, as I work with the cards, do the research and figure them out and, try to see what connections I can make and kind of like write up what my own interpretations are that come out of that.
Yes.
Rather than just like trying to just, do it in a very sort of like rote mechanical way. So, so that's the plan.
Awesome. Sounds great. I'll have to compare notes.
Yes, for sure. Well, and I'll keep watching your videos too.
Oh, thank you. I've only done 2.
The one that you just did, the one that's on Narcissus, like that gave me new insight.
Thank you. Okay, I'm glad.
Like in talking about the myth, like you gave me some new insight into some of the potential interpretations of the card that made it way more like 3-dimensional. So, I really enjoyed it. So
thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, and it was, and that's the fun part of studying and actually putting work into learning a deck. And I mean, there are decks where it's like, no, I do not want to put the work into learning any new system, and you know what I mean? Like there are tarot decks I've specifically avoided for that reason. But then there are ones where, it is worth it to, and it's fun. It's fun to study.
Yeah.
So,
and I don't think it's necessarily anything to do with the deck. It's just what we're in the right mood for.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yes.
I mean, I've been interested in Greek mythology since I was a kid. It was something that I was fascinated with, like, from childhood, and in a lot of different ways, and expressed in a lot of different ways as a kid. And I still have like certain Greek deities and figures that I have a connection to just because of what they meant to me as a child. And so it's a topic that's of interest to me, and so I'm excited to actually do that study. So.
I, on the other hand, had no interest in Greek myths and ended up working with Hecate. So go figure.
It's understandable.
Yeah, it's just the way it goes sometimes.
Yes, it is. It is.
Yeah.
It is. And I have developed a very strong connection, if you will, with Medusa. Of all Greek figures, I never would have thought that was one that I would eventually end up really gravitating towards and having strong feelings about.
I totally get it though. I think there are some women in Greek myths, particularly like Persephone, Medusa, Circe, that I think can be looked at in a way that can be very empowering for women and very pivotal to women as women.
Despite the fact that they've been villainized over.
Yes. I think
exactly as figures.
Greek myths do not do the female characters many favors. I mean,
no, they do not. No,
I mean there's so many problems, but
See, this cracks me up because yes, Clash of the Titans, absolutely, and also Jason and the Argonauts.
Yes,
I loved that movie as a kid so much.
Oh my god,
that movie. So,
Clash of the Titans, oh my god, I loved the claymation and just like everything. It was, and when they came out with the remake with what's his name, Sam Worthington, I was like, I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, I like what they did.
I like it. I liked that remake.
They made their own, and then they put little homages to the original, with Bobo the owl, little things like that I appreciated. So ultimately, I was like, you know what? I'm not mad at this remake. I actually do enjoy this remake. But
remake, honestly, if it doesn't have Harryhausen monsters, like then it's not a Greek mythology movie for me. It's like and Clash of the Titans, it has that like those Harryhausen special effects, but
so good
in the early 80s, and but it's fantastic. So
I've been trying to convince Matt to watch it with me. He's like, I know I can't. I showed him some, and he just he's like, he was like, that's one of those movies where maybe at the time it would have been something great, and fun to see, but Yeah, I'm 40 now, and watching that, I don't know that.
No.
So.
Okay. Well, he should at least watch Jason and the Argonauts, because that one, I mean,
I don't even know if I've watched that. Have I watched
oh my God, you must watch Jason and the Argonauts. It has some of the best stuff. It has like Talos, the bronze giant. It has harpies.
it?
It has
Ooh.
the skeleton warriors
Who
that
stars in it? Do we know? Is it anybody? Do you know?
whose name I remember. It was made in the 60s. So,
Oh, it's that old. Oh, okay.
yeah, but it's still the Harryhausen monsters. Like, it's very stylistically similar to Clash of the Titans, which tells you how old school Clash of the Titans was when it was made in the 80s in terms of the special effects and stuff. Like, they're very similar in a lot of ways. But Jason the Argonauts is actually my favorite of the two.
Okay, I'll have to watch that. Hello, you Ink and Flame, Eva.
Hey, Eva.
About a year ago, I streamed Clash of the Titans to watch with my teen son, and did he like it? Because goodness, with technology these days and CGI,
and just the way that we enjoy stories has changed. Like, the way that we expect to be told stories. I watched Spartacus last year with my mum and dad at Christmas, and I used to love that film. But we watched it at Christmas, and I was like, this film is actually really dull. For a large majority of it, they just hang around in a field. A very large portion of that film, and I don't remember that being in it originally. I'm like, Mum, they're just hanging around in a field, and she's like, yeah, that's what they did. They just hang around in fields and had conversations with each other, and then they all died. Like, oh, okay,
just like the period pieces, walking and talking in fields. But I mean, and it's true. It's like the films that we feel nostalgic for when you go back to revisit. Some of them just don't hold up as well.
They just don't hold up. They just don't have the same.
Also, more of like, I don't know. I was just talking with my sister about this the other day, because she had had my niece and nephew watch some like older films that we had loved as kids, and she just was like, movies took longer to like get going back then. Like, nowadays everything is so instant gratification. Like, you go watch a movie, and the first scene of the movie is going to be like whiz bang, stuff exploding, like all kinds of stuff going on, because that's like what we expect. We expect that instant gratification and instant excitement from a movie, whereas they didn't used to always make movies that way, and so they feel slow, even though it's more about how our brains work more than anything nowadays. So
even though they were shorter then than they generally are now.
Yeah, but they actually like took the time sometimes to set up a
story,
and do some exposition at the beginning, and like stuff didn't just immediately start happening like before the credits even rolled. So it just
Marlena is asking if I've read Medusa. I don't think I've read. Is there a novel or a book?
Blind something.
I don't know if
I like a retelling of Medusa, or is it like Circe is like a retelling almost of Circe, or is it
Born Blind by Natalie Hayne?
What's that? No, I don't know that one. Is it any good? Is it worth reading? I guess is the question, because I would totally. And so Eva is saying, I don't think he was terribly impressed. No, but he is interested in animation and could appreciate how things have. Yes, that is true. That is true.
Yeah.
It looks like it might be Stone Blind. That is a Medusa story. In fact, that is Medusa's story. That is the tagline of that book.
Okay. Well, we might have to look into that then.
Okay.
It also looks like it's quite new. It came out last year.
Oh, just last year. Yeah, then I definitely haven't read it.
I'm guessing that was probably inspired by like the success of all the Madeline Miller books.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, probably. I would have thought so. Yeah.
Sure.
The cover looks kind of similar. So.
Okay. I have on my TBR the Song of Achilles, and I know she has maybe another one as well.
Yeah, she's just done one but it's very short. It's I cannot say it, but it is Galatea or something like that. It's basically the statue that comes alive.
The Pygmalion story.
Yeah. I think it came out at the end of last year. Madeline Miller. This is Madeline Miller. Sorry,
right. But I did finally read Circe. That was a really good book. So
I really enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed it. I did Circe as an audiobook, which I would highly recommend if people like audiobooks. It was really well done. Especially as a first person. So it's.
I need to ask you too. We'll get to this when we talk about the literary tarot. But did either of you get the booster pack for the literary tarot?
I did.
Because because that has different lovers cards. It has Achilles and Patroclus as one lovers card, and it has Hades and Persephone as another lovers card.
Okay. Interesting.
Because I replaced my lovers card with Hades and Persephone because I was like, I'm all about that shit.
No, I didn't get that. I got the postcards, the big postcards that came with it.
Okay, so this right here. Sorry, this is the Patroclus and
Achilles. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I get it. I do get it.
Mm-hmm. I don't like that one as much as I like Hades and Persephone.
I think I would have maybe preferred actually Achilles and Hector, but from a different standpoint of how we're reading the lovers. I don't really always read it like
right.
I don't mind this type of image because it's what we always see, and also I sometimes prefer something. Okay. Yeah.
But it had some. That's. Yeah.
Okay.
So I replaced some of mine with cards in the booster pack because I like the booster pack better. So just saying.
I do.
Who is the lovers in the Literary Tarot?
It's The Age of Innocence. Is the book that it references.
Okay.
Which I've never read, so that's one of the reasons that I replaced that one. I
liked that book. It's been a hot minute since I've read it.
I'm not entirely sure I've ever heard of it. My knowledge of classics is not very good.
Apparently mine isn't either, because I flipped through. I was telling you to via messaging. I was like, I was like feeling like kind of bad about myself. I'm like, I don't know any of these stories. I don't think I've read them, or like I just don't know these references.
Yeah, and this is why our live on the Literary Tarot is going to be really interesting because we're coming from three different perspectives. Okay, let's reel all that in before we get carried away.
No spoilers. So
okay, interesting. I do also prefer the Hades and Persephone.
Yeah,
as well.
That's the one I
okay, interesting. Mm-hmm. Yes, the movie is good in my opinion. I think they did a decent job. So the movie version, the only one that I know of is with Michelle Pfeiffer and Daniel Day-Lewis and Winona Ryder. I think Martin Scorsese directed that one.
Okay.
Usually not his wheelhouse, but like, I liked it. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
All right. This is also another deck I'm gonna have to. I do want to get to know the Literary Tarot, and we'll have to put in some work because clearly I am not very being an English major. I haven't.
Well,
bad English major.
Yeah. The original Clash of the Titans movie did, and this is what I find fascinating about it, because that original Clash of the Titans movie had those like full-on throwback 60s Ray Harryhausen animation special effects. And it's fascinating to me that movie literally came out after like Star Wars, which had like for the time amazing special effects. They're two such different approaches to creating effects for a movie, and I find that I've always found that really interesting. So that is like approximately the timing of it was like that very late 70s, very early 80s. So
I was not born in 1981, just putting that out there. This film is older than I am. Just throwing that in there for anybody who's interested.
The child of the group.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, I was not born in 81. Sorry, guys. I was born. I saw that movie as a very young child. Yeah, that was one of the ones that I'm pretty sure my dad rented on Laserdisc when I was really little. So, yeah.
Awesome. I think I caught it on TV. When they started showing it on TV, along with all the other 80s movies like Beastmaster and like Conan and just all those. Oh, anyway, takes me back.
Yeah, those kind of things.
Yeah, it takes me back. So, let's see.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
With all the cremation. Yeah.
Very
for sure. For sure.
Yeah. That's why you should watch Jason and the Argonauts, because the scene with the like skeleton warriors, the animated skeleton warriors, after they sew the Hydra's teeth, when they're trying to get the golden fleece and all the skeletons come out of the ground. It's like, it's pretty damn good for the 60s. Like it's, it's, you would like that one. It's good. You should watch it. So,
Okay. All right. I think I'm gonna
Oh
watch
yeah, Sinbad.
I love the Sinbad film.
Sinbad.
Yeah,
Whoa.
we watched them in my house when I was growing up.
Yes,
We're
Sinbad.
fans of Sinbad movies,
Yeah.
definitely.
Sinbad was the comedian, right? Like
No.
No.
That's
Oh,
not
not
Sinbad.
the comedian. I'm sorry. The other.
Sinbad the sailor.
Sinbad the Sailor, like the 7 Voyages of Sinbad.
Yes,
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm
I
getting
saw those as a kid too.
because there
We
is
had-
also a Sinbad comedian.
Yes, there is a comedian whose name is also Sinbad, but yes,
Sinbad.
we're not talking about him.
No.
Oh
I don't
my
even know
God.
who that is.
The 60s movies.
Oh my goodness.
he actually-
You don't know the comedian Sinbad? Yeah, go ahead.
As a kid, it was on the same Betamax tape.
Mhm.
We had Jason and the Argonauts recorded, and right after that was the 7th Voyage of Sinbad. So I always watched them together. Anyway.
Okay. So Sinbad was also. I feel like honestly, I might have very well have seen a Sinbad movie, like Sailor Sinbad movie. I might honestly, because I've seen quite a lot of older films when I was a kid. I was all about like a lot of the older films, so I probably have seen. I feel like
they did like some great like fun fantasy films in the
really
based on mythology that they did back in the 60s, and yeah.
So okay, I might have to revisit. I'll have to watch Jason and the Argonauts.
For sure, watch Jason and the
After I
Argonauts.
finish my current K-drama, I will put that on the list, and then I and oh my goodness, awesome.
All right.
I think we're done then.
After we've now gone on a long digression
Yeah.
about
We always go on a tangent
I
at the
know.
end of these things. People come for the decks, they stay for the tangents. I'm sure.
That's how we do. That's how we do. ISIS TV series.
No.
No, I do not
No,
remember that at all.
No, I've also never ever seen a single episode of Wonder Woman.
With Linda Carter?
Yeah, never.
Oh my gosh.
Linda Carter's a freaking queen for starters. Those original Wonder Woman was so good.
I wanted to be her so much.
It was her for Halloween.
I was too. I
Yeah.
had like the plastic mask thingy.
Oh, okay.
That was my version of like the plastic what is jumpsuit thing and the plastic mask.
Yeah.
Oh, the smocks, those like smock costumes.
Yes. The old school. Oh, so bad. Yeah, like with the rubber band that you just like put around your head. Yeah. Anyway, that
And
was
considering how huge a nerd I am, that is quite a big deal.
Yeah.
yes. Oh my god.
Yeah. Never seen
Wonder Woman was
Yeah.
so freaking good. Loved her.
Linda
stuff.
Carter was so damn beautiful. Like
She
I was just like, oh my, she was so wonderful. So
yeah.
anyway, yeah.
I loved that show. Everything about it, everything about her. I was totally obsessed.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
good stuff, man.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So before we
weather.
go another tangent, shall we think about wrapping up?
Yes.
So we are live again next month. We are going to be a bit later in the month, just because August is that funny month for people.
It's very
So
busy.
we're live on Sarah's channel on the 19th of August, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Is that right?
That's
Yeah.
right. Yes.
Yeah. And we haven't yet decided when or where or how we're going to do the Literary Tarot special, but keep your eyes peeled, and I'm sure we will let you know about that when we've made some decisions.
Yes, absolutely.
And we will also, of course, be pre-recording and posting our 3 Girls 1 Monthly catch up for July, but that will also be a little bit later in August, because I don't think we can record it until August 8th. So
that's right.
That one, and this is entirely my fault because I have too much traveling to do, but
it's August, it's summer. These things
a little
happen.
late in August, so sorry.
I mean, they're having a life outside of YouTube. Like, what's up with that?
I know. I don't know what's wrong with me. Yeah.
It's just so rude that we did not take priority of your summer plans.
Oh my god.
And that will also be on Sarah's channel. So
Yes.
keep an eye out for that too.
Yes.
A bit later in the month.
Yeah.
Alrighty then. So that's it, I think. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us again. Like I say, thanks for coming for the decks and staying for the tangents. We do appreciate it. And we will see you all again soon.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Hey, everybody.